Hello, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and I want to kind of talk about Callisto Protocol for a minute. So, I put out my review yesterday. I gave it a 90. I really enjoyed this game. I really liked it. I really did enjoy everything about this game. The combat is probably going to be central to today's video, along with other things, like PC performance and embargo review embargo date. So I didn't watch any of the reviews from anybody else before I did mine, so I came at this with my own thoughts, my own feelings for this game after Striking Distance provided review code, because I did return the PC version because I wasn't gonna have my experience diluted by compilation stutter or de novo or whatever other kind of different things that might have been causing that to happen, because I know for a fact my PC is way stronger than a PS5 or Series X, so I should have been able to get a solid experience from that. So I sat back. Well, first of all, we're talking about the reviews and what I think is going on, because I'm getting some questions, in the comment section, wanting to know specific things about like combat and story, stuff like that. So this we're going to start with the combat, because the combat, I think, is the crux of the problem for this game and why some people love it and some people hate it. I really do think that a lot of that really boils down to that. Now, I was in situations in this game where I would get destroyed repeatedly. I like 15 times, and I was like, my gosh, what am I doing? And then I would like sit back and I would just take a minute. And this is basically the reason why I quit live streaming it, because I wanted to sit back and like really think about it instead of just trying to like be all gung ho about everything like I do when I'm live streaming. Live streaming for me kind of affects my experience with gaming a little bit more than because I'm so ADD, so I'm trying to pay attention to the stream and I'm trying to pay attention to the game, and nothing's just clicking. The things just aren't clicking, the stream and everything. So it's hard for me to really take in a game and really understand and like stop and think about it, because I can't pause it, stop, and think about a situation while I'm in the middle of a stream. I can't do that. Like it's just so I have to sometimes take it a little bit slow and think about things. So, but after I would get into this game and I would start playing it, like you against two enemies, most of the time you're gonna survive. Like you can get out of that. 3 enemies, it gets a little bit tougher, but still survivable. Any more than that, you're toast. Like you're done. You're done. If you've got 4, you're done. you are there's no questions asked. You are done. You're not surviving that. A lot of the horror and terror from this game comes from those tense situations when you've got more than enough. Now, one specific review I watched was Dreamcast Guy. He was talking about this stealth section that I freaking loved. This stealth section where these enemies, they can't see you. This has been a recurring theme in a lot of the reviews that I watched last night and everything. The guys that can't see you, the enemies that can't see you. Yeah, that is essentially a stealth section. If you get, because those guys are sound, and there's a lot of them. So I messed up a few times in that section. Like if I'd mess up and I'd try to get one and one would find me, they would all come rushing from everywhere, and they would come out at different places, and they would all instantly transform into like their second form. And man, it was just pointless. So when I hear, the reviewers talking about, yeah, I mean, I just walked around and stabbed a whole bunch of them. Yeah, yeah, you can do that, and that's good. The thing is you want to take them all out. You want to take, I did. I went through and I took them all out. The more you take out, the less likely you are to get destroyed if you run into if you mess up. So you want to take that section really slow. I did it really slow, took them all out, was having fun. It was incredible. I loved it. I had a lot of fun doing that section, to tell you the truth. Like, it was kind of like, whew, finally I get to take a break from all the crazy combat and everything. and it got to the point where I was like, all right, cool. This is really good. Yes, you can take one out right next to another one and it doesn't alert them. Okay. Little design mishap, but the other ones can't see you. But yeah, that taking them down does sound pretty brutal or whatever. So that was the one part that like kind of stuck out to me, like in some of the like Dreamcast guy, like he just like freaking out about it for no sense. Yeah. So every combat situation in this game can be literally extremely frustrating. Like it can be frustrating, and that's fair. That's a fair criticism for this game, that it can be frustrating. But I personally enjoyed that up close combat. Like I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the mechanics of being able to do that and like use your gun in between, and like I upgraded my stun baton a lot, because that there was my thing. That was my go-to. I loved doing that. I barely used the telekinesis powers in this game. Like seriously, I barely used them. I was more happy to just use the stun baton. That was fun. Like I really did appreciate the combat in this game. Like I liked it. I thought it was great. Some people are, well, Dreamcast guy also said this game is so easy, and I was like, man, I struggled with it. I struggled with it. I did. I struggled with the combat. I had fun, and it gave me that like that heart beating, like the heart sensation that I love. Like my heart's beating real fast, and it felt really tense. As far as horror goes in this game, like yeah, you're not gonna essentially find a whole lot of horror in here, but it wasn't like a horror game. It was more of like a tense, like, oh my gosh, dude, it was more like a tense, and I love that. I loved how it was tense and not like super scary. There's a lot of jump scares in here, but they're like, I mean, they're kind of predictable. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to the jump scares, like once a couple of them happen, you'll be like, okay, now I just need to look at this type of thing. You'll see like some body getting dragged or something like that. Those are like whatever. I mean, obviously that kind of stuff happens. Or you'll see something like in the water with you, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, something's gonna jump out, and like you'll just be on the edge the whole time you're in the water, and then like nothing happened. It's kind of cool. Like I liked that. I like that, not knowing what was going to happen, but knowing that like, yeah, a jump scare is going to happen. But then when something really big does kind of happen, you're like, oh boy, man, that was pretty cool. Is this game perfect? No, I gave it a 90. Obviously there's, 10 more point or another whole point for it to get, a 10 or whatever. Like it's not perfect, but it is. I thought the quality of the visuals in the game itself were pretty high. I love the fact that it didn't make me backtrack and do a whole bunch of senseless fetch quests. I love that it didn't have like an overbearing story to where every 5 seconds I was sitting there in some sort of like, in some sort of like cutscene. Like I love the fact that I was in control in this game far more than any other, like story game. Like I love that. I thought it was great. I thought the pacing of this game was literally perfect. By the time I'd completed this after 11 hours, I was like, yeah, that was good. I sat here the whole time and played through that. I live streamed 2 hours the night before, live streamed 2 hours the next day, and then I stopped and I got something to eat, and then I went right back to it, and I just boom banged it out, and I was like, yeah, this is great. So that's like the one thing. Like I know a lot of people, like my friends at work and stuff, some of us older gamers, we don't have time to like sit there through a 30-40 hour game, and like a nice short compact experience like this can definitely be worth just as much as like a 60-70 hour game. And I came to this conclusion the other day when I was talking to my friend at work, because that's what he was saying too. And he's like, man, I just don't got time to play him, and like, I really just like that, like short games that give me like a really good thing. And I was like, yeah, you know what, man, that makes a lot of sense, because before I started this channel and a few years ago, that was basically me. I would get to play the video game on the weekend, and I'd be able to get through it, and that was good enough for me. That was good enough for me. I was like, yeah, that was great. And so when it comes to these shorter games like this, it's the higher quality visuals, the higher quality set pieces, the higher quality just game in general is a lot better than having this being like so blown out and a whole bunch of fetch quests. I really did appreciate that. Now, another thing that people have been asking and talking about is the I think another reason this game is getting a pretty good amount of hate is the fact that the review embargo was the day of launch pretty much. So I think that might have added to some people's frustration, wanting to be able to get their content out and not have to worry about all the other casual gamer YouTubers like me getting same code, same review, and being able to put their review out, within theirs, taking away some of their views or whatever. And I think that kind of frustrates them. I never get the memo. From these guys when we're either going to love a game or we're going to hate a game. So I don't really care. There's a lot of hate for this, and maybe some of that is warranted for the Callisto Protocol just because of the fact that even I personally was like, yeah, dude, I refunded it on the PC because I didn't want my experience ruined. I wanted to play this game. I wanted to love this game. I wanted to actually enjoy this game. And that was making it very hard for me to do that with the constant stutter. So I was going to just walk away from it and come back at a later date because I have always wanted to play this game and I've always wanted to get into this. So I wasn't going to let something like that negatively influence my decision. And I wasn't going to let it, completely turn me into like being like super negative about it. I did the live stream, talking about I did the live stream, talking about how it was like toad mode and how it went bad. And that was true. That was honest criticism for the game. Like, if it's not going to be parity with Xbox and PlayStation, you should wait until they're parity. At least parity. At least have the same features, ray tracing, whatever. That was my biggest gripe with that. But with the PC, not having, a stable, like, I wanted it to be a stable experience. Now, it wasn't 100% stable the whole PlayStation 5 playthrough. There were some points where you'd get and you could see the frame rate drop, but it was mostly consistent throughout the whole game. So that really didn't, bug me a lot. I didn't really go into the nuances about a lot of the stuff that some of these other reviewers were talking about in this game because they did not bug me. They didn't bug me. I'm not going to sit here and obsess over how much story is in the game during the game. As long as the story and the campaign made freaking sense at the end of the game, that's all that matters. A recent game I played, God of War Ragnarok versus this. When it comes to the story, I much preferred Callisto Protocol story and the way it was told overall. The God of War Ragnarok, they had so many different characters in there that they were trying to, and everything just kind of felt rushed and pushed together inside the main campaign. Like I rarely ever go out of my way to do side content when I'm playing a campaign. Like I rarely ever do that. Like I always save that for a reason to go back into those games after I complete them so that I have stuff to do, so that I'm just not walking around looking at, because I really don't like having to go replay stories. Like I don't really like doing that. I don't like doing that. I like to be able to get my whole story content in that one playthrough and be like, yeah, that was good. And then go back and like check out the game because I own it. I buy them digital, so I'll go back and I'll check them out later or as time goes on. That's just kind of my play style, and it's been like that because of the fact that like sometimes I only have a weekend to get through a game, so sometimes I don't have time to do all that other stuff. And the more I space out a game, the more likely I am to like stop playing it, especially if it gets boring. That's why I had to force myself to get through God of War Ragnarok. This one I didn't have to force myself. I was just like, whoa, man, it's over. I want more. And I was like, wow, man, like I didn't think that it was gonna like 11 hours for a game like this. Okay, that's good, man. Like that's good. That's pretty fair. It's pretty decent. I really liked what was going on in this game, and I really had fun. Let me see. Is there any other thing that anybody was wanting some answers on? Let me just check the comment section just real quick. See if anybody else has anything else that they wanted to say. Now I did not even check out the ray tracing mode one time in this game. One time. Didn't even check it out. Why? Because it looked so dang good in the performance mode that I didn't care. Like, I didn't care. I played half of this game on my OLED, and I played the other half. When I was live streaming, I was on my OLED. When I was playing the game, I was on my monitor. Either way, it looked incredible. I do prefer the way it looked on the monitor just a little bit better, just because of the fact that like everything is a little bit more condensed, and oh my gosh, it just looked so good. But it looked incredible on 4K. It was a lot easier for me to play and get into the combat on the monitor as opposed to playing it on the OLED. It felt like I was... My vision has to like scan all over the screen, whereas I could just play it really nicely on the monitor. It was really nice. Characters in this game, there's not many, but the ones that are there, some of them you're like, okay, cool. You get to know them, and you know, it wasn't this game. I guess you could say story wise. The story, you know, is kind of thin or whatever, and there's like supporting cast or whatever. And that's fine. That's fine with me. Like I was perfectly okay with that. Like I said, I'm so grateful I didn't have to sit through 10 hours of cutscenes and have 1 hour of gameplay. I would say the gameplay to cutscene ratio in this game is literally perfect. Literally perfect. You get just enough cutscene and tons of gameplay, lots of gameplay in between all that. Like so much gameplay before the next cutscene. It's so good. Like it's not immersion breaking. And when and I think it was done well. At the end of the game, like when you complete the game and how that end sequence plays out, yeah, it was good. It was good. Like by the time the credits were rolling, I understood the story. I understood the plot. I understood what was going on. I understood why things happened the way they did. And it helped make the atmosphere in the game itself that much better because of that. Like I wasn't sitting there obsessing about some story stuff while I was trying to figure out how to get through these monsters and get to the next place. I'd never been to this prison before. I'd never been there. I didn't know what to do or where to go, so I was glad that there was somebody that had been there for 25 years that knew his way around the place and could tell me how, give me directions, man. That was pretty cool. Even though it's a linear place, he pretty much was giving you. So that made sense to me. I was like, okay, cool, man. That's awesome, man. Thank you. We're going to help each other. We're going to get out of here. Because that was our main focus is like, man, let's get out of here. We didn't know what was going on. We don't know why people are changing. So it made sense to me. I was like, yeah, dude, that seems like a good goal. Let's get out of here. And then by the end of the game, the plot's different and you're doing something different for a different reason. And that made sense too. And you find out that your character is kind of at the centerpiece of why everything happened and what happened. And it was cool. Like it was done well. It wasn't overblown. It wasn't super exaggerated. It wasn't like this. It was good and it worked and it was perfect. It was literally perfect for me. What else? What else did anybody say? What was the other stuff? Mainly the biggest thing that everybody shill up and everybody complained about, Jake Baldino, everybody, was the combat. That was everybody's crux of the problem for this game. And then the paper thin story, which I just explained the story. To me, it was perfect. I liked it. I loved how it came together. And I love that it was hard to miss anything. Like I don't really think you can miss anything. So it was pretty good. Like I don't have it's not compelling me to be like, oh man, you need to go back through and make sure you check this path or do that path. Like I feel like I got a complete full experience with Callisto Protocol, with the story, with the gameplay, with everything. I felt like this is one of the most complete freaking story games I've ever played in a very long time. Like it was so complete and it felt so good. In my review, I compared it to the Resident Evil. Resident Evil Village is probably my favorite Resident Evil right now at this point, aside from 4. And this one here, I liked this better. I liked this one better. I liked this one, the way this one here was put out and put in front of me. I liked the linearity of this game more than I liked just a little bit more, not a whole bunch more, but just a little bit more than what the way I was running around in Resident Evil in Resident Evil Village. I like this one a little bit better. I like the fact that it wasn't wasting my time with, like the puzzles and all of that stuff. Like I do love puzzles. Don't get me wrong, guys. I love puzzles, but I also love that freaking tense, nail biting, like, oh my gosh, this is scary, dude. Or like you look in a room and you're like, oh gosh, do I even want to go in that room? That kind of scary, as opposed to like, oh gosh, it's gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like this one here is that more like, oh my gosh, dude, I gotta think, what should I do? What should I do? As opposed to like a Resident Evil type horror thing. Let's see what else. And then, yeah, dude, like the combat, that was people's main focus of their, in all the reviews that I watched. I only watched 4 or 5. I didn't watch ACGs yet. But I do agree with some of the stuff that they said, but it wasn't a big enough issue for me to where I'm like, oh yeah, man, I don't like that game. I don't recommend it. Like, I do recommend this game because I feel like a lot of gamers out there are kind of like me. And they're going to appreciate this more than a bunch of us reviewers that get free code all the time and we play hundreds of games. Like I feel like a lot of people that are going to want to buy this game are going to appreciate this game a lot more. I feel like people are going to appreciate this game like a Sony first party game. They're going to like, oh my gosh, your graphics are so good. They're going to get over everything else, man. Like, I feel like there's going to be that crowd, and then there's going to be that crowd that's like, oh my gosh, the gameplay is so hard. It's even hard on easy mode. Like, there's going to be those people too out there. It's this is an interesting title, man. This is probably one of the most divisive games that I think we're ever going to come across. You are going to have people that are going to literally love this game like I do, and then you are going to have people that are literally going to be like, man, I hated this game. I hated it. It was way too hard. And I'm like, you're going to have those people, man, because you're going to get into some sections in this game early on that are going to frustrate you with the combat because you're still not knowing it yet, and it's going to frustrate you so bad that you might quit. You might walk away from it. But you'll come back to it, and maybe you come back to it, maybe you don't. Maybe it's too tense for you, maybe you won't. But I think that's the biggest thing, because I even though the combat was challenging and the way it was designed can lead it to be extremely challenging in overwhelming, like when you're overwhelmed. There's also ways to get through that and fix that and fight that and get through it. Because I mean, clearly I beat the game, and clearly I got stuck a lot of times in a lot of situations to where I had to figure out a way to get through it. I had to figure that out. And so that was good. That's why I appreciate it. Like I didn't give up, and I appreciate it. And I love this game more because, yeah, that combat's good. And I probably punished myself a lot by not using my telekinesis power a lot. I probably punished myself a lot by sticking mainly to the melee and firearms, man. Like, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I liked that dodge and move and hit and stuff. I love that. I thought it was pretty cool, man. I did really appreciate that. So that's basically me answering as much questions as I can about this to try. I mean, if there's something I left out, just leave something in the comments. I'm actively reading everything and trying to answer as much as I can when it comes to this game, because I feel like I feel like a lot of people didn't like this for certain reasons. And I'm not saying that their reviews are bad. I'm just saying that my take on it, it was completely different than the experience they had with it. It didn't frustrate me as bad. Like Skill Up, he played through it on the PC, so he was having to deal with the shader stutters and stuff like that. So I completely understand where he's coming from with that. Dreamcast guy, I don't even know if he completed the game before he did the review. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He sounded pretty genuine in a lot of his stuff, but then a lot of his stuff didn't sound genuine. It felt like he was kind of more or less trying to jump on the hate wagon because he wanted the clout or the clicks or something. And that's just kind of the way I felt about Dreamcast. Jake Baldino, I really cared about what he said. He hit the nail pretty much on the head. He had a pretty good devil's advocate thing when it comes across for that. I haven't watched ACG yet. And then some of the other people that are less known, that I just happened to come across it pretty much. And then some people you can automatically, after 30 seconds of watching the review, you could just tell they were there for the hate train and the clout chasing or whatever. So I didn't even watch that, but I do plan to watch a few more and then maybe make another video on this, because I want people to understand what this game is before they buy it. and to understand that, like, hey man, some people are really struggling with the combat and stuff. Some people are like kind of finding the story a little bit lacking because they want this bombastic story, you know, like they get too far. I feel like this was the perfect balance for story content. Like, I feel like this was a freaking solid game. I really did enjoy it. I really do freaking feel bad that I couldn't experience this on the PC the way I was originally intending to. I'm grateful that Striking Distance sent me a freaking review code for this, because wow, man, I would have waited a long time and I would have been hearing all this negativity about it ever since then. So I'm thankful that they sent me that, because it really did help me be able to play and experience this game right now, day one. So that was awesome. Thank them. And yeah, man, if there's any other things I can answer, I am uploading my gameplay, my gameplay to the internet for you guys, so that you guys can watch that if you want to as well. But I'm trying to see if YouTube's going to let me monetize it or not. If not, then I don't know. It's still in the review process on the next chapter of it. So we'll find out shortly, and then you guys will be able to see that. I might just post it either way if they don't approve it or not. So I probably will. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming and supporting the channel. It's because of you that I was able to get a review code for this in the first place, because my community is growing, and I'm glad that you guys value my opinion. And I try to do the best for you guys, to give you the best information I can, so that you can make the best financial decision that you can for these games. Because let's face it, man, some are hit and miss. I was more disappointed with God of War than I am this, and I was more hyped for God of War than I was for this, but I was pretty hyped for this too. So that kind of sucks, man. That kind of sucks. I like how they did the story in this, and I wish God of War story would have been more cut and dry like this, so that it was easier to understand. But all right, man, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.